maybe like twice as fast as Webbit or something. So maybe even more than that. So it's definitely an interesting path to explore. And they are doing other things like they're refactoring the chain index, like the multi-index, the chain base, which is also going to yield some additional like purely software-driven improvements. They're also adding multi-threading for signature validations. So that's also like going to be improving replay times and like even up to a point like real-time performance. So that's all very, very interesting stuff. However, like it's still important to kind of like realize that the preferred method to scaling EOS is really like IBC sidechain and that kind of stuff. Like we don't want to scale vertically too much. We want that we scale horizontally as possible. Otherwise, it's just becoming very hard for people to run full nodes. So that's part of the discussion that we're going to have like in the next couple of weeks / months. But definitely we want to scale this horizontally as much as possible. Other discussions that we're going to have to discuss between us have to do with the resource allocation model. Right now, like CPU and net, like net is fundamentally broken the way I see it. Like it should be kind of redesigned to factor in the cost of storing and indexing transactions. Like it's right now, like there is a as most of you are probably aware, there's only a few block producers that are running the history plugin, which is really not the way to go forward either. Others have been developing different solutions to kind of store the history data and everything. But it seems to me that net doesn't do much. Like it should be kind of refactored in a way that like factor in not only the bandwidth at the temporary moment, but the cost of storing the information and indexing it properly for future retrieval. And essentially, like CPU also needs some sort of refactoring, maybe with Rex. We can solve a few of these problems, but it seems to me that like the algorithm right now is quite naive and could be improved quite a bit to improve usability for everyone. So, but these discussions will probably be made easier now with referendum tools coming up. We're going to be able to have like stake-weighted discussions on these issues and potentially take decisions. But these are kind of the lingering or like actual questions that we're going to have to debate regarding performance. It's not like it's always trade-off, right? So going to have to discuss these and see where we want to go from there. That's basically it for the report. Any questions or suggestions?
Did you have anything about parallelization of the signature verification?
It is basically like what Block One is kind of working on right now. It's happening at some point. For now, like it's still not there, but it should. Like my understanding is basically like as you're playing the chain, you could just like completely segregate in a separate queue, separate like core. All the signature validation because they don't impact the state, so you can just run verification of the state changes in one of the queues and have like signature validations done separately, and just then combine the outputs. So like you could get like a sizable performance increase for replaying. But it's in the works.
Is that a live improvement and not just a replay? Because replays you just disable signatures for some time, but on live
maybe.
Want to have parallels.
Yeah, like they didn't release much information about it. Like it's kind of
to me the benefit quiet,
but
live.
Yeah, I maybe live. Yeah, I thought like maybe it would help for replace, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, but Guillaume, I mean, for now, for the current situation, what can we do is increase maybe a little more on the targets, and also make net costs a little more expensive, since we are not running EOS to be a file storage solution, and right. Net shouldn't be as cheap as it is right now.
I agree.
I think that could help a little bit, and parallel to that, upgrade the system contract to 1.40 will be helpful to.
Absolutely.
At least get the optimizations on Clang, and And then you see
like this is the lowest hanging fruit right now. Like we're compiling system contracts, and every dApp developer like should take advantage of that. Like the ESI OCDT 1.3 just compiles like better. So like it's everyone right now struggling with CPU cost for their dApps could just recompile.
And maybe if we get just your Bat Dice to upgrade his contract, will be a 20% improvement in the
they're supposed to open source it this month. Like they said, like in November they would open source. So maybe if they do, like people can take a look and suggest improvements.
That just means we've got 100 Dice apps, yeah.
Yeah, no, but a single one is responsible for like 80% of everything.
Pretty much, like like they're playing by the rules. Like they're staking millions of EOS and like using them all. So that's fine. But I mean, like like they're big, they're huge.
Any news on IBC? So you've been talking about one. Have they moved on that front or not?
Like there is guys from Interblockchain here in Montreal. You've met them, no?
Code Chain, right?
Yeah, they're going to release something.
But there's a company here in Montreal called Interblockchain, and I think they're working on the Warbly EOS Interblockchain. And I think Alex, you know them. Like it's Jean-François Bidon and Thierry Martin and these guys.
Okay.
So I met with them like last week, and it's very interesting what they've got. They probably will have something like in the next, I'd say like probably days or weeks, because they were already kind of starting the testing phase. And like I reviewed their code and model, and everything checks out. Like
is that open source?
Because they're doing
if we're to put something.
Yeah, it's most open source.
Yeah. Okay. So then, can you send links?
I'll send you. I'll put some links in the mainnet channel so you guys can have a look. But they're pretty far ahead.
Interesting.
Awesome. All right. If there's nothing more on that point, then I guess we have Mr. Yates in the room. So point number one. Michael, do you want to give an update on the BP scheduling and routing that you were doing?
There's no update really. We've been discussing this since launch really, that everything's in the wrong order. So we're bouncing back between China and Europe, and then off to America. So I just wrote a quick patch, which I think we should probably test on Jungle, on Kylin. Probably is better to test. All it does is reorder the producers by a location, which you specify, which is on a list. Each region has a different code. Igor, do you have it? We've all seen it.
Yes.
We've all seen it where you have a different region for each continent, really. So I don't know. There's not much more to say other than we should probably deploy it, test it, and if it works, go with it.
Yeah. We need a few BPs to try to game the system.
If you're looking for a way to test that in different latency configurations, I have a testnet set up which allows me to inject latency into spin up 21 nodes and put different amounts of latency on each one, and different kind of packet shaping methods on each.
I think the challenge is going to be to find out what numbers goes after which numbers. So we need to sort of find a route worldwide, according to the real underseas cables or whatever, where the numbers are going to be following each other in an optimal route. So Igor, you have some.
I did a roof estimate with Eric a long time ago, and then we deployed several machines around the world and tested latency between them, and we came up with roughly optimized route that could be used in the first scenario. And then within those larger regions, we can just position the per smaller regions. I don't know, but
the only danger I see here is that it can be gamed quite simply by modify each BP can modify their own number, of course.
And what was that? Was the risk that you change position in the next round, right? In the next schedule,
you can make yourself look better.
I can make the one behind me to miss blocks.
Yeah,
but
No, but
I mean, that would be pretty obvious in public if some BP does this. So it's not something.
You would go explicitly to a place where you have high latency with the other guy before?
You can modify.
No, then I modify my block delivery time, and then the guy behind me missed blocks.
That's pretty much what happens now, though.
It is.
Organically.
Yeah. Just that some BP could make their own look better if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's
But it would be
better than we have.
If someone is on the wrong location.
Yeah.
Right. But if everyone looks better, it's all good, right? So if everyone works at looking better, I'm fine with that.
Well, it's going to help the micro forks between faraway producers. That's all it's going to
And maybe using this, we can also increase the CPU more safely, because it's the limitation now. It's getting the blocks too big and not having time to deliver it. So
it's a network issue, not a CPU issue, really.
Yeah, it's a network issue because we can increase the CPU usage, but the network is not coping up with that.
The handoffs is where it breaks, right? Because it's too long. Hand off the next block. I had an idea to push out, to craft that route. Maybe it could be algorithmic, and we could each publish an IP address that is representative of where our BP is. Right now, some load balancers are in front. I know Google uses ECAF, so if you do pings, it might not be hitting the proper location for the block producer. But if we publish an IP that's near, doesn't even be the block producer, we could each ping each other and create a route and create like where I should be in that route. Maybe that would help and actually come up with the right number in the roundabout.
Is that everybody has to agree. All the block producers have to agree on the ordering, and if they don't, then it wouldn't hand over.
I think if we start by just going by continent, we're going to make something that's a lot better than we have right now.
Right. There's by the way, as part of our infrastructure, in Titan, our partner that's providing our infrastructure is a member of the ARIN and RIPE NCC regional internet registries, and basically these are essentially connected with BGP protocol, border gateway protocol, which are essentially networks between ISPs, and they can rearrange their routes in a dynamic way at the protocol level. So it's kind of maybe longer term type of improvement, but we could potentially sit down with other block producers and on other continents and have a few of them becoming members there and try to kind of rearrange literally the routes of internet to kind of favor EOS traffic. So that's kind of a bit out there, but it's doable. There's.
But if it's not algorithmic and the schedule changes, we need to sit at the table again. No, it needs to be some.
Well, no, it can be dynamic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Basically, you at that level, you have certain leeways in how you organize your routing tables at the really at the
great
core level.
To the other, it's going from one producer to their node to the other node.
Right.
Right. Your producer could be literally next door to each other, but yet the route between them could be global. So
right.
I don't think we're going to be able to have something which is algorithmic that we can work out exactly between each one. We have to just be very clear about it and then maybe tweak it. If you happen to be in the wrong region, even though you're actually physically in that region, but network, you're probably more likely in another region, then you can change the region yourself to be in the next one. But I don't think we're going to be able to do anything which is very intelligent. It's just going to be better than alphabetical, which...
Yeah, let's start this way. It's going to be safer.
It's probably the worst thing that we could do.
So does it use the location field with reg producer?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
And I think actually it's going to be backwards compatible as well. If somebody doesn't update their location from what they have now, then they're going to be put into a zone which doesn't exist. So they're basically going to be shoved to the end of the list. And it's going to be probably the same as what we have now. So I think backwards compatibility is fine as well.
Okay, good.
Cool. Next point then. So let's skip number 2. Ben isn't here yet. So number 4, ECAF, implementing the order.
Yeah, that's basically the way we should go, because I missed the test that they did showing that it's possible to update the keys without removing the blacklist entry. So we basically need to talk about the way we want to proceed into changing the keys from the blacklist accounts and finally removing them from the subjective blacklist to something on chain. And if we want you to stake the accounts again, as someone suggested, but it's more like a governance discussion than a technical discussion.
I checked with them and they said we can do whatever we feel is necessary.
Yeah. My opinion would be to change, to request to ECAF to request the new keys from the affected parties, and after they give them the new public keys, we update directly.
We haven't been told to update any keys to valid keys yet. We've just been told to block it.
So if just for blocking, we shouldn't even stake again. I don't know.
Well, they said we can do what we want, and I think staking is probably prudent, just in case, because we're still on the blacklist now.
Well, but if you empty the keys, if you null out the keys, it's the same. Nobody will be able to do anything.
But maybe it's a safety net when we do apply the change for new keys. But maybe we can push that when we do apply the change for new keys once we're with null keys, right? But I have a question, Igor. You said
if the account was hacked, and the idea is to return it to the state that it was before it was hacked.
Yeah, it's returning it to how it was.
Yeah, okay.
ECAF would have its details in the order there. Please restake da, right?
Yeah, I queried them about this, and they said do whatever you feel is right.
Right.
Yeah. But there are no details in the orders, right? Yeah. The order is just to blacklist, to block transactions.
Igor, right now, you said there's an issue with when it's in the blacklist, we cannot null its keys because it hits the same issue? The same.
No, I was thinking that, but somebody tested and
okay.
it works. It works.
Yeah,
we have the blacklist is active. We can null the keys.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So then we just prepare a list of accounts and null keys and then push that on chain.
Yeah.
Is there any objection to that? Well, maybe the reverse then. Is everyone okay with that?
Let the multi-sig show.
Let the multi-sig show.
Yeah.
Okay. So that can be crafted pretty quickly. Right? In one Swift, one big multi-sig.
Actually, there's a proposal going on Kylin right now to do a restake using REP. It's probably 3 or 4 more approvals to go, so we'll see the test result.
Do we propose we restake, or we simply null the keys and then remove the subjective blacklist?
I think should be 2 steps. One proposal to null all the keys from the blacklist, and another proposal to stake, because if somebody wants to stake one account and not the other, this makes sense.
I agree.
And we should give like a big time for those, like 1 week, just because it's a sensitive matter and people will take time to decide.
Have you checked if we can restake if the keys are null?
We
haven't tested.
No. I don't test it. You test it?
Why not?
No, we haven't tested.
But the test you are doing for staking now uses a existing key, right? The account has an existing key. Okay.
Yes.
Because I think
you don't need keys.
Yeah. But it doesn't check. It doesn't check if there is any account linked to what's on the permission, because you.
No. Once the checks are done, they're done. It passes, and then require auth passes, and then the delegation of bandwidth will happen just normally.
Yeah, in theory, but we haven't tested that.
Right. Okay.
Just to make sure. Yeah, you're right. In theory, it should work. But we should test these things, otherwise we'll.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
I think that's it. So, just up to someone to make the proposal. I can work on that if you want, but I would suggest that before this on Kyling, somebody tested the staking with nulled key, just for us to be sure if the mainnet proposals are accepted in the different order. If people decided to stake again but not to null the keys, we can do on the different order as well.
And perhaps we want to test if we can, after having nulled keys, putting new keys in and unstaking, because that might be what's going to happen, right? When the order comes in to sort of free an account back to its owner, we would stake just so that in case they have been stolen again, I don't know what, 3 days for.
Mm-hmm. But you mean unstaking like normally, not with the multi-sig?
If we want to test, we can test a few of those cases, but it's just my opinion that I think we're going to have that later. When we put valid keys in, maybe in the same transaction, we also stake back. Right?
Okay.
One by one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who's going to lead that up and then report back? Would that be you, Igor, or Zhao? You will do that?
Just a recommendation. Maybe we should do that per order. So we actually split them into multiple.
You mean doing like 17 multi-sigs?
16. One was missing,
16.
right? And one was removing, so 15.
I don't
Maybe.
know. Or one big one. I put it in one big one. I mean, at EOS Canada, we have a process of multi-sig for our own EOS Canada account. So it's going to be a lot of work, but we can do it. It's just that.
You can have 17, but also with a shell script that just batches them all. Maybe because right now, like how Shintai kind of does it, you kind of batch multiple proposals, so you can have multiple MSIGs, but all in one chunk. So it's all one fire, all separate.
I put all the actions in one transaction and multi-sig that.
It's up to you. It's up to whoever proposes it. How about that?
Of course.
But I mean, someone on the call is against nulling the keys from one specific order. I don't think that this is the case. If that happened, people wouldn't apply the blacklist. I don't know.
Everyone didn't, right?
I mean, it's it's kind of a loaded question, but we don't support nulling the keys to through multi-sig proposals. Like that's our position. The issue that we see with this is we have like ECAF that is self-appointed and unelected, and through this they can censor up to six block producers that have been elected. So I mean, like it is like technically like there's nothing wrong with it. It works and everything. It's been demonstrated that 15 out of 21 block producers can actually go ahead and pretty much do what they want. However, it's important to consider the precedent that it also sets. When we start doing things of the sort, we are actually going against, in my opinion, the Constitution, which is supposed to protect property. So like it's very, very slippery slope to start being careless about this. The last order that was issued by ECAF to me doesn't meet objective requirements that would like basically like make it okay to use ESIO wrap, for example. I mean, like these are governance discussions, like on technical side, like I said, like we've tested it, it works, like everything's fine. But at the governance level, it is like a question that we need to discuss and answer. And like as you can see, like today, like Consensus, which is a large Ethereum like company, they just released like this like hit piece, as it was called, on EOS with factual information that is wrong, but still like they make some compelling points about like, is it really a blockchain if you're able to kind of have validator nodes like moving property around and everything? I know Larimer has been vocally opposed to this whole notion. He says that 21 out of 21 is BFT, like is Byzantine fault tolerant, but anything less is not. So anyway, I just wanted to express that.
One very important thing that I think Guillaume made a good point to bring up, regardless of anybody's personal opinions about what Guillaume said, being sensitive to the climate within which we were to test such a function would be prudent. So understanding that this article was released today, and then understanding that the sensitivity of the community and the industry to any such action like changing keys would be even higher than normal, would be good to consider. It may be worth delaying any sort of test until there is a confident and strong, thorough response released to this report, either by Block One or a conglomerate of block producers.
I just point out, though, that ECAF is named in the Constitution, and we wouldn't be applying anything if it came from something that wasn't in the Constitution. If EBOB comes up and says, please freeze that thing, obviously we wouldn't, right? But ECAF is in there, and we slipped it at the end on launch because we wanted to have a way, it's not the perfect way, but to be able to do that governance. So
I understand the point. However, like from a legal perspective, it doesn't add up. It doesn't check out, doesn't work in many ways. At least here in Canada, I've had it vetted by my lawyers and basically like regulators as well, and it doesn't hold up. So I'm happy to have that discussion with anyone who wants to learn more. But like as far as I'm concerned, as EOS Titan is concerned, and other actors that we've discussed with, we're not on very solid legal footings. So I would still recommend like to be very, very cautious about this whole thing.
So what are the next steps here then?
I think like again, like this is kind of a technical call, so it's not really the purpose here, but just to address this, I think it should be at least like voluntarily on a voluntarily basis. Block producers should come together and kind of establish standards regarding what is like a transaction that they could censor, or what is a case that they would unanimously type of thing apply a freeze, things of the sort. I think we should also add this kind of concept where block producers need to respond to an ECAF order, whether they say like we accept or we refuse. That would also help a lot, because obviously, like if everyone accepts and a few people just don't respond, it's a different story than if you get 15% that say yes and like 6 that say no. It's a very, very different like story from a legitimacy perspective. Like a multi-sig does not cover the down vote or the no's.
Yes.
Right. We could try to. So I suggest one thing. There's an initiative called EOS Enhancement Proposals, where we can standardize. It's a standardization body. Remember, like Python's PEP standards, Bitcoin's BIP, RFCs, and there's a long history. And the Ethereum repository for EIPs was forked and cleaned up so that we could have those documents that define standards, and we could in there specify and work together to define, like, in which contract is it decent Twitter that block producers would send a yes, and that would be considered by all, and then we would discuss it, and at some point we enact, right? We try that. So I suggest we put that proposal in a proposal enhancement, and then we circulate it.
Yeah, agreed. Sounds reasonable.
It's on eeps.io today. So
Perfect. So who will run point on that? Nobody. No volunteers.
So running point on what? On the proposal, running point on the fact that we should vote before just enacting an ECAF proposal, or we at least send our opinion, because right now everyone is on a 1221 did block the blacklist, right? If they didn't, they would let things slip through. So there's sort of an all or nothing.
Didn't one actually slip through?
A few of them slipped through, like in the past, like I think 4.
Yeah. So at least the multi-sig allows you to say no, but the majority, 15 plus 1, 2/3 plus 1, will still, decide, which is more respectful of DPAS, I think. Okay. So let's postpone that, I guess.
Alrighty.
I mean, I think like yes, we should do like Alex said, like kind of like start working on some proposal to maybe like just give some sort of frame of reference, and like like if we're gonna be a governed blockchain, we have to take into account like traditional traditions and law, like jurisprudence and this kind of thing, and we should have like like a conscious and like I guess prudent way to address these new precedents. Like this new blacklist that was ordered, that was issued yesterday, is different from all the other ones. Like in the sense, it's not like key theft or things of the sort. It's the first one that actually challenges, at least as far as I know, it's the first one that challenges like the nature of the smart contract itself, like saying like it didn't behave like it should. It's like the DAO hack on Ethereum, and bear in mind, like the DAO hack on Ethereum was resolved by a hard fork, but like also created like Ethereum Classic out of it. So like this is the kind of like contentious type of action that may lead to like a loss of consensus in the whole thing. So it's very important to kind of recognize it as such, and to establish proper precedent.
If you want to do that, it's not for us to decide the merit of any case. It just isn't our job. I understand that we are the only accountable entity. The block producer is the only accountable entity in the ecosystem. If you want to do that, just move for a vote of no confidence in ECAF, and let's just have a coup and get it over with. Because that's the direction that we're going to slowly be going. And is it even worth expending all of the energy to do that when we're going to be moving into this brave new world of referendum where ECAF may or may not even exist, and we can save ourselves a whole lot of bullshit?
I agree, but still, like there is like a precedent that will be set if we act right now on like in the current state. And I agree, it's not perfect, and like Constitution like has many flaws, and hopefully with referendum we can move forward and establish like a better grounds to move forward. This being said, like I'm very sensitive to how these type of things could be perceived, and notwithstanding like the current state of things and whatnot, like there is like block producers are the ones that enforce these type of things. They are elected. They are like the only bodies that have been elected. So they do have, until like proper like procedures are established, they do have a role of importance, and it has to be recognized. But I agree with most of what you're saying.
And I agree that it would be wise to delay testing or doing a changing keys or moving tokens. Doing that right now, the day that this report comes out, would probably be stupid of us to do. That's my opinion. I don't think we should be doing anything like that. I think we should be continuing with the blacklist as broken as it is. The alternative could break much more.
100%.
I agree as well. That's EOS Nation's position as well. The political landscape right now, with that article coming out, the way that it was written, the impact that it has potentially if you go ahead and you do use multisig right now instead of blacklist, as much as blacklist is broken, could have very, very high risk repercussions versus
the repercussions of failing to do a blacklist properly again.
And it really is a matter also of like timing for the whole sequence of events. You know, like after referendum is in place, after we can like actually get token holders' opinions on some of these issues and like kind of get some sort of an indication of what is supported by token holders, we can act much more confidently in these types of things. But I mean, as of now, like this legitimacy has not, in our book, been established, and like it's very, very shaky. The goal of our platform here is to establish a strong consensus between its users. So like the more we kind of think these things through, and the more we make sure that everyone kind of get a say in the whole process, the more resilient our consensus is going to be. So I mean, like we should not try to go and like cut in the middle of everything that we see. We want to make sure that we set the boundaries right of what is allowed and what is expected, and this is how we achieve a stronger consensus, not by being careless.
I agree we should go up with a referendum as soon as possible, because in the end, if EOS is to be a governed blockchain in a certain way, then we'll want to show our colors at some point. Maybe the colors is going to be to null the keys, if that's the token holder's opinion, because it will mean this network is a network of people that together want this, right? They want it this way. So maybe having some input from community will be very useful. Right now, we're the elected bodies, is true, but it wouldn't be, you couldn't oppose that if token holders give their opinion, right? You'll say, right, it's their community, they handle it how they want.
Agreed 100%.
Eric, you're laughing, man. What's up?
There's a couple that are laughing. There's Michael as well that's laughing quite hard over there.
They're sharing memes.
All right, so whilst everyone's laughing, let's give Igor the last point that slipped in, just as I mentioned before some of you joined. Kevin Wilcox raised the issue about CPU saturation. Again, we've seen a lot of people turning to CPU emergency and bank of staked. So Igor, you have some ideas for a fix. I think you touched a little bit on this in point number 3, but
yeah, my point now would be we should proceed with the upgrade to 1.4.0 on the system contracts. And as soon as this is done and we get some stabilized results on the CPU after this, we can think if we should increase the target block limits to maybe 25 or 30% if the network allows us. And in the meanwhile, we should test Michael's proposal, which can help the networking part. And as if the networking part is lighting up, we can increase the CPU. That's my position.
Okay, perfect. So we just wait and hear from you guys once you've done your test.
Yeah. So if no one's here is against the 1.40 version, I could go forward and make a proposal for upgrading.
Don't wait, put the proposal in.
Okay.
People will start digging, I guess.
Is that for main, Igor?
And
yeah,
you want
for main.
141, not 140.
No. It's 140, the system contracts, not the no-DOS version.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, it has been tested. I have been used in 2 different testnets personally, and Kyling is upgraded to that, right? So it's pretty much safe to go, I think.
I have a slight
I'm not sure about the contract on Kyling.
What?
It's still 1.2.1.
Oh, it's not upgraded on Kyling. Okay, so we should do first on Kyling, but
yeah.
Also, we have a breaking change with the MSIG contract. So I don't know how we alert the developers that we're about to break everything.
Oh yeah, but it has to happen some.
Can you summarize the breaking change?
They changed the table for the approvals. It's gone from approvals to approvals 2, and now it includes the date and time that they approved. Each person approved is logging the date and time now.
Okay.
So if you're using a front end tool which shows approvals, it's going to break. So the blocks Explorer, for example.
So it's backwards compatible, though.
No.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, I mean,
it's not breaking. It's not going to break anything, but you won't be.
It's just a display, so it will break the displays, and people have to fix that. But I mean, it's not unless somebody is doing this inside of a smart contract. But I don't believe they are, because checking approvals inside of I don't know.
It doesn't sound like something you would do, but they could be. They could be, but it's going to just show no approval. It's not going to break as such. It's just it will always show that no approvals have been made.
Okay.
So yeah, we just need to maybe even start thinking about how we tell people going forward that there are breaking changes, because we're probably going to have some more come up at some point.
Yes.
Sounds like we need a proposal, Michael. Proposal how we.
But I see that they kept the old table. They are just saving the data to the new one, right?
Yeah.
They kept access to the old one. So if you had an old proposal, it will still be there.
Yeah, I don't know. How do they upgrade? I know
they created a new one, and now they add the data to the new one, but the old one is still there. So if you're querying a proposal before the upgrade, it's fine.
Yeah, so if you half agreed it before the change, and then the final agreements that were after, is it going to break?
Yeah, that's a good test. So we should, that's a good test. We should create a proposal and then upgrade the contract and try to execute that, and maybe continue approving something like this.
Yeah, I'm not sure they migrate the approvals over.
I have to check.
All right, cool. Then is there anybody for anything else, or we'll wrap it up there?
Has anyone changed or tested the impact of the?
Just quickly, Michael, it does. It checks on the old approval table if it's not on the new approval table when you do approve.
Okay.
So it's backward compatible for approvals, but not for reading them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not so bad, but it is something that we need to think about in future, because we're probably going to get other breaking changes. They love just reading.
So somebody could prepare like a proper text to publish jointly to the developer community, and then after that is published, just alerting them that the upgrade will be made. We can go ahead. I don't know.
Yeah.
So has anyone
one
tested?
Thing I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. So one thing I want to talk about is I sent out a feedback form to a bunch of dApp developers who have launched live dApps that's built on EOS to ask them to give some feedback on the developer experience. And they have a dozen of them fill out the form, and I already compiled it. It's sent to the group. I'll also send it one more time. A lot of them is about documentation. So I think a lot of feedback is addressing to block one. There are a few points addressing to block producers that we can help. Most of them is to block one. So I'm just gonna post it again. Hope everybody will read it. I'll also forward it to Bart, because he seemed to be interested in reading about how's the adoption of dApp developers.
Okay, that's awesome to think. Looking forward to reading that.
Which ones are directed at us? Could you highlight which we should be looking at rather than B1?
Well, I think it's just the API one. Let's see, too few public nodes with history support. But I mean, some of them we can help with education. But I think most of it is to block one.
documentation and better release process. Update the documentation before releasing the code, and block producers pushing out those updates, and like roadmaps from B1. I think most of them is for B1.
I see that they say table schema upgrade is impossible, but that's not true. It's just not straightforward.
Yeah, I guess there's some things that we need to educate better, or documentation could be done better. Yeah, so these are people who have actually launched dApps on EOS. So I think these are very valuable feedback from them.
Great initiative. Thanks for doing that.
And if you know that there are others who have launched dApps and want to try to get some feedback from them, here is the link.
Super. I guess, Daphne, could you post that into the Telegram as well? I don't know how.
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
I did. It's at the EOS mainnet BP room.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Is there anything from anybody else? Otherwise, we can shut this down within the hour.
Yeah, if I may, for next week, I see there's a number 5 point on the Constitution referendum. So today I'll be announcing just updates on the vote tally. If anyone in this room wants to help out, kind of just proof check the results of the vote tally, I think Roshan and maybe Alex or whoever, I'll be putting out a report, and I have essentially vote tallies based on block numbers. So let's say if you say I voted on this block number and then I change my vote at this block number, we can replay the vote count based on block numbers. So if you give me some scenarios like I voted with my proxy and then I unstaked and then I revoted and the number should be this, I can actually go back in time at a specific block number and we can replay. I can give you the result of the tally based on a specific block number. And that way you can kind of do your own test case yourself. So if anyone wants to test that, just ping me or ping the referendum channel. And then hopefully by next week, we should be out of beta, but today we should be doing a lot of testing on that. So if anyone can help me out, Alex, I think Roshan, and I think Syed also will be helping. So all the help, you can come by and just ping me and wait out for an update from me.
Great work there.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, then let's leave it there. So have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you guys are. Thanks, everyone. Speak to you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.